Last night, the verdict came in and Jussie Smollett was found guilty on 5 counts of disorderly conduct, a class 4 felony for lying to the police. On the 6th count, he was found not guilty, but this means he could potentially face 15 years in prison. Not likely going to happen. Speculation is maybe he'll get probation, but some experts are saying because he lied on the stand, well, he might actually get more time. Now, it's not that they're going to charge him with perjury or anything like that. Maybe. I really doubt it. It's that he basically lied and the judge is sitting there being like, dude, you're lying right now in my courtroom. You have no remorse for what you did. And you know what? You need to have some jail time. Typically, when you're in court, they say that if you own up to what you did, then they assume that there's some remorse. And thus, I mean, it kind of makes sense. You're less likely to commit the same crime again. And so you need less time behind bars. I think the whole system is broken and makes absolutely no sense. And we call that thing either the trial tax or the jury tax, because the inverse is if you are innocent and you demand your chance to prove your innocence, they say he clearly hasn't learned his lesson. So innocent until proven guilty. I don't think we should hold it against someone because they want to defend themselves. However, Jussie Smollett, like most people would say reasonably, he lied on the stand. So it comes as no surprise to me that Black Lives Matter, the organization, is standing by Jussie Smollett, both before the trial, before the verdict, and now after it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Jussie Smollett has been found guilty by a jury of his peers after 3 years, and Black Lives Matter is still like, we don't care. It's funny. You know, this is the kind of thing y'all need to, hey, I got it. Share this with your friends and family. Take the URL, post this everywhere you can. This right here is what people need to see. Because I see people saying things like, how could you possibly hold the political opinions you have unless you're a conservative or something like that? As if anyone who calls out the lies of the cult has to believe in like pro-life or, traditional conservative values and small government, free market, whatever it is that make up the typical stereotype of conservative. You can actually believe in small government and be on the left. How about that? You can be on the left or the right or the center and believe in reality. And reality is simple. When someone commits a crime and attempts to deceive us, to steal from us, to ruin things, we hold them accountable. In my personal opinion, I don't believe justice will be served by sending Jussie Smollett into prison because I think the prison system is overwhelmingly broken and corrupt, especially private prisons. Hey, that's not conservative, is it? I don't know. Nothing seems to make sense these days. But I'll tell you what bothers me. Black Lives Matter would have Jussie Smollett unpunished, free to go, under the presumption that he's purely innocent. Why? Because he's been a vocal voice in support of Black lives. And that's it. Well, look, I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your ideology is. I don't care if you believe in freedom, inalienable rights, want to defend civil rights. If you commit some crime against the people and it is found to be beyond a reasonable doubt, well, then there's got to be some kind of rehabilitation, restitution, or something to that effect. That is to say, I think we should abolish all the prisons, just get rid of all of them. But that doesn't mean release all the prisoners, and that doesn't mean have no judicial system or rehabilitation system. It just means I think the current version of it doesn't make sense. We send young people into jail or prison, and they come out hardened criminals. It's not solving anything. Sending people to prison typically does not solve the problem other than to say, you're a bad guy, you screwed with us, we're going to lock you up so you can't do it again. Now that I get, I just don't like it. I don't think it's going to solve anything, and I think it's a short-term solution that creates long-term problems. We do need to incarcerate people. I'm just saying right now, the current version of our prison system is completely broken. So if I were to say something like abolish prisons, I personally, I don't know what they're saying. I mean, I think the left wants to just release everybody. My attitude is more so like, yeah, we should reform the prison system slowly over time, not release violent offenders, and then figure out a better way of doing things. But I like to be a little bit hyperbolic because I know that it triggers people. Take a look at this from TMZ. BLM standing by Jussie Smollett even after guilty verdict. They say, the jury didn't buy Jussie Smollett's claim he was the victim of a racist, homophobic attack, but the leaders of Black Lives Matter certainly do, and the org is sticking by the actor. Black Lives Matter and BLM LA released a statement both before the verdict in support of the Empire actor, saying, so let's be clear, We love everybody in our community. We can never believe police, especially the CPD, over Jussie Smollett, a black man who has been courageously present, visible, and vocal in the struggle for black freedom. Now, after Jussie's been found guilty, BLM LA leader Melina Abdullah tells us that stance hasn't changed. Jussie has their full support. Abdullah says the organization refuses to abandon its people and stands on the principles the justice system is corrupt. Well, I actually think we have one of the best justice systems in the world, and that's coming from someone who's experienced the justice system in the United States and is not a fan. You know, I've had cops screw with me. I'd have cops try plant drugs on me. I've had cops give me fake tickets on more than one occasion. Hey, here's a story. I was driving to work at about 3 a.m. when I see headlights on the tail of my car dangerously close. I'm talking like almost hitting my car. And so I drive like this for a little while. It's pitch black outside. And then I'm like, okay, this guy's going to hit me. I'm going to move over to the other lane and then slow down. So I have to create distance between the 6-inch gap between my car. And I'm going the speed limit. Now I'm going a few miles over the speed limit as I speed up a little bit and then turn my right signal on and merge to the right. And the car follows. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's going to hit me. What if I got to slam the brakes on? And the lights turn on. And I'm like, oh, and I get pulled over. And the cop walks up to my car and starts laughing. You got a cop on your tail. Don't start speeding, buddy. And I said, you were nearly hitting me. I had no choice. If I slammed my brakes on you, to give me a ticket for that. And his response was, yeah, well, too bad. Yeah, I'm not a fan. And we all have stories like this. But just because something like that happens doesn't mean we would be so stupid to say, well, regardless of that, Jussie Smollett's a good person. No, they're both bad people. The cop who screwed with me is a bad person, and Jussie Smollett is a bad person. Two things can be true at the same time. I'm not going to blindly support Jussie Smollett and his criminal BS simply because I've had bad experience with police, or I think we need to reform these institutions. Because then you just get evil. Look at this. You may have seen this one. Statement regarding the ongoing trial of Jussie Smollett. This is Dr. Melina Abdullah, the same woman. An official statement from blacklivesmatter.com. Now, if you don't agree with me and you believe that the enemy of my enemy is my friend and therefore should be absolved of any wrongdoing, then we don't agree on that one. I don't. You know, I think Steve Bannon said that to me. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Maybe it was somebody else. I don't buy it. I'm not. No. The enemy of my enemy, we may have a united front in a conflict, but no, you're not my friend. Okay? Just because I may have issues with police doesn't mean I would ever support Jussie Smollett lying and trying to manipulate the public and besmirching people with his ridiculous and stupid story. No, I believe in principle. Sometimes it's hard to figure out where the line is on certain issues. Like abortion, for instance, is very difficult. A lot of people think it's cut and dry. It's not. I'm not a fan of government having the right to check our medical histories and weigh in on these things. And I'm also not a fan of abortion. But this leads me to being pro-choice reluctantly and in a difficult moral position that I don't really have the answers for, other than every time I get up against that wall where it's like, okay, here's the barrier. Do you want the government to be able to have some of I'm like, I just can't do it. Not a fan of the government. Government sucks. Mostly. I know Siraj, he got mad at me on Twitter because I said mostly, and he threatens to put me on the list. And I'm like, dude, I'm not an anarchist. I recognize the government does some things that are okay, but for the most part, it sucks. I mean, especially modern government today. Now, this may come as some surprise or no surprise, depending on what you think about Mr. Don Lemon, but Don Lemon throws his old pal, Jussie Smollett, to the wolves by branding him a liar, as his legal expert calls for Starr to be jailed. But CNN host still doesn't mention claim he meddled with police investigation to help Starr. Well, you know what? In the trial, we heard Jussie Smollett say that Don Lemon texted him privy to information, basically saying the cops don't buy your story, effectively helping him out to a certain degree. And I think that's as a conflict of interest for Don Lemon to be on TV than reporting on it. Don Lemon's not brought it up. And for that, I think he should be maybe fired. I don't want to act like it's as bad as what Chris Cuomo did, but it's pretty bad. So maybe some kind of reprimand or something like that. But I'm gonna throw it to Jussie Smollett. Not Jussie Smollett. Sorry, Don Lemon over the Jussie Smollett issue and say, I'll take this one. I will take this one. Look at this story from Fox. MSNBC primetime hosts completely avoid disgraced actor's conviction. Yeah, they didn't even want to talk about it. At least Don Lemon is coming on saying, nah, dude lied. lock him up. He made it harder for, other victims of hate crime. And yeah, we get it. I really do hate that line. When people lie about these things, they make it harder for, yeah, we get it. How about when you lie, you screw with us, every single person. You are trying to exploit our goodwill. We, good people, take your claims and say, we are going to allocate resources because we care about you. And then it turns out you spat in our faces. So yeah, I'm just generally mad about that. But Don Lemon, willing to come out and say to Jussie Smollett, you're a liar, and have a guy on saying you deserve jail, hey, that's a good thing. I'm seeing people be like, he's throwing him under the bus. And I'm like, or he's just saying the truth. Look, a broken clock is right twice a day, I suppose. But I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to look at the timekeeper guy and be like, look, when you get it, and tell him, when you get it right, we're still mad. I'm going to be like, look, you got it right. This is the good thing. Okay, please do more of this. Hey, Don Lemon, I don't see eye to eye. I'm not a fan of you. I'm not sure he even cares who I am, to be completely honest. But I'll tell you this. I appreciate and respect that you're calling out a dude who lied. You guys are friends or acquaintances. You got every reason to either say, I'm not going to cover this at all, but coming out and being like, nah, dude lied. Jail. Thank you, sir. Sarah Silverman came out. She said the media is lying about horse dewormer. I'm like, thank you, Miss Silverman. She came out. She said the media, Joy Reid was lying about Ron DeSantis's Gestapo. She said the truth matters. And thank you very much. I will not disparage somebody who's doing the right thing. Just because, look, I believe in, to a certain degree, depending on the person, forgiveness. If Jussie Smollett came out right afterwards and says, you got me, man. I shouldn't have done this. It was wrong. And now, there's a real risk to destroying my career. And I just thought it was going to help me out, but it was something stupid that people shouldn't do. I'd be like, Jussie, I forgive you. I forgive you, Jussie. I would say that if he owned up to what he did, but he didn't. So he doesn't deserve my forgiveness nor my respect. But I'll throw it back to Joey Salads. Remember, you guys know Joey. We've had him on the show a few times. I consider him a friend. Not like we hang out all that often, but Joey's a friend. And he's a guy who also staged a racist hoax. He made a YouTube video where he put a car in a parking lot and put Trump signs in it. And then said, I wonder what's going to happen. And then filmed a bunch of black dudes smashing that vehicle up. One of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And I will tell you this. I don't see a difference between what Joey and Jussie did. I mean, Joey didn't claim to be a victim, but he made it seem like people in this black neighborhood were going to destroy a car simply because there was Trump stuff in it. That was completely despicable. But Joey owned up to it. He got caught. And when he got caught, he didn't say, it's not true. He was like, man, I got carried away with it. Joey's talked about it time and time again, saying he didn't realize how far gone he had become making these videos, just thinking, not even thinking about it. He was just chasing the views and chasing the money. And he just completely owned up to it. And I'm like, you know what, man? Coming out and laying all that out on the table, explaining, I was making money, dude. I was getting subscribers. I was caught up in it. And it was dumb. And I got caught, and it was inevitable and all that stuff. And people say the only reason he's apologizing is because he's desperate for redemption. And I'm like, good. Because if you don't give people a chance to redeem themselves, they go the other way. If someone like Jussie or Joey are walking towards the darkness and people scream at them, how dare you? What are you doing? Here's what happens. Joey Salads, for all of the awful things he did, he turned around and said, I don't want to be this. I don't want you to feel that way about me. I don't want to be that guy, please. And a lot of people still said, no, initially I did. And then I was like, no, dude, come away from the darkness, man. Forgiveness awaits. If you do the right thing, you are welcome back into the good graces. We've had him on the show. I've done interviews with him. He's done interviews with me. Good. Give people the chance to say, deep down inside, I don't want to be that way. I don't want you to think of me that way. And I'm like, that works for me, man. Even if it's, business incentives for whatever the reason, if we can make you stop doing bad things, let's accept it. And that's how you get some form of rehabilitation at the very least. Jussie Smollett, what does he do? He went to the darkness. And then after he got caught and people said, yo, what did you do? He said, I didn't do anything. And we're like, bro, we can see you walking to the darkness. He says, no, I'm not. No, you're lying. I refuse. And those lies, every garbage statement, every lie on the stand, whatever, allegedly, is him walking further towards the darkness. And I'd be more than happy to say to him, bro, if you come out right now and said, I was caught up in it, I was looking at the dollar signs, to me, it seemed like a good PR stunt and I thought I'd make money, I'd be like, all right, man, I genuinely would accept that. I'll stress that point. Joey Salads had like Trump stickers in the car. It was an inversion. Not the exact same thing, but very similar. Having black guys smash up a car, it's beyond disgusting. Joey owned up to it. And it's simple. I was thinking about some of these people who, change their opinions on social media, who will be doing something that all of a sudden, I don't want to call anybody out specifically because I don't want to drag anybody, but there are people who might be like embracing a certain kind of political ideology. And then all of a sudden you see them start saying, you know what, I don't want to be involved in this. And they change their opinions. And some people would say you're grifting. Well, the way I see it is maybe people just don't want to be seen that way. There's genuinely something in them that's like, that's not who I am. That's not what I want to be. I got caught up in it. And they change their opinions. Maybe it's fake. Maybe it's just fear, whatever. But ultimately, my point is, Jussie Smollett is a bad dude. Don Lemon. There are certain people I would never give forgiveness to, but Don Lemon doing the right thing here and calling out Jussie Smollett, overwhelmingly a good thing. And I respect it. And then again, he has a guest on, Lemon's guest. Joey Jackson said he believes Smollett may well be sentenced to prison for his lies. Yeah. I think even CNN mentions this. They have this story. They mention that his defense team is going to appeal the verdict. Jurors deliberated. Smollett maintained his innocence on the stand. Smollett told police, yada, yada. They say, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson said the judge could give Smollett probation, yet Smollett exposed himself to jail time when he testified in court. Quote, when you testify in a case, the judge now gets a sense of what you said. What Jussie Smollett said was resoundingly rejected by that jury. The jury did not buy what he was selling. That's not lost upon the judge. You came into a courtroom and fabricated. Jackson told Don Lemon on Thursday that he believes Smollett will face time in prison because he doubled down on the lie during testimony, required police to use resources during their investigation, and because the hoax itself could undermine victims of hate crimes. Quote, there are people legitimately who are the victims of hate crimes. And how do you diminish them by coming up with something that's a farce? That's troubling. You have to punish that. When you're really on trial for telling a lie and you compound that by actually lying, it makes a judge who sits in judgment of you when you're sentenced really troubled, he said of Smollett. Defense says they will appeal. The lawsuit against Jussie Smollett is currently ongoing. Now, look, it may be that Don Lemon is calling out Jussie Smollett because of the implications of him texting him. And he's worried now that they're going to be like, dude, you were, it's a conflict of interest. That's unethical what you did, and you should be reprimanded. So now he's getting ahead of it by being like, you're a liar, Jussie, and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, maybe, sure. I can't read people's minds. So I can only go off of what they're doing and what it will lead to. Jussie Smollett coming out and just calling, I keep mixing them up. Don Lemon coming out and calling out Jussie Smollett. There are going to be people who see that will reflect upon who these people are. What I see here is there may be many people who see Don Lemon, who is a friend of Jussie, saying this, and they're going to be like, yeah, okay. Because look at Black Lives Matter. They're willing to allow a guilty person to go free simply because of his political ideology. That is the mark of authoritarianism. Blackstone's formulation, it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. Benjamin Franklin said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And then it was Otto von Bismarck who said it is better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty person escape. Because his ideology was rooted not in what was true and just, but in what granted him power and authority. Meaning he would make sure innocent people suffer to make sure he gets that one guilty person. And that's how I feel about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter says we don't trust the cops. We would condemn the entirety of the institution and all of them and allow the guilty to go free. And that is beyond Bismarck's comments, beyond authoritarianism. Imagine that. Imagine, we live in a world that is our country that is originally rooted on these ideas that of Blackstone and Benjamin Franklin. And the idea is such that if a government is willing to condemn the innocent in the pursuit of retribution, then people will lose faith in that government out of fear that at any moment they could be punished, incarcerated, or destroyed, killed, simply because the machine wants you out of the way or is seeking something else. And that happens a lot. People getting caught up and arrested and falsely charged, it happens. And it's terrifying. That's why I always say innocent until proven guilty. That's why I think we do need some kind of bail reform. If the state does not have the time nor energy to properly give someone a bail hearing, then the person should be released, period. The state has the burden, not us. Of course, I think the current iteration of bail reform is not working too well. And this is the problem I have with much of what the left does. They're like, here's an idea, abolish the prisons. And I'm like, okay, there's something there, reform them, restructure the system. And then they're just like, nah, let everybody out. And I'm like, yo, you're making it harder to advocate for these things because you're doing the stupidest version of it. Bail reform, we'll just keep letting out repeat offenders. And I'm like, no, that's not what you do. Yeah. These are the problems we face in this current version of everything we have. And so then you'll get these, low tier midwits who are like, if you voted for Donald Trump, you're a conservative. And it's like, dude, there are a lot of reasons to vote for Donald Trump for someone who is not a conservative. And one of the issues is that y'all are supporting the neoliberal establishment and them burning everything to the ground. Donald Trump, at the very least, was like, secure our borders and bring the factories back. I'm like, out of everything Bernie Sanders pitched in 2015, at least that's some of it. Joe Biden's policy is loot the country and sell it off to China. But these people don't care. They don't pay attention to politics. So sometimes you got to take what you can get. And that means a Donald Trump for all of his faults. But Trump had some good policies. I'm not going to lie. His second term agenda was pretty dang good. School reform was huge. Getting out of Afghanistan was huge. Biden screwed that up. Don't put the establishment back in power. Anyway, we got to pay attention to this stuff. Why am I critical of the far left and the Democratic establishment? They literally defended Jussie Smollett when most of us reasonable people saw that he was lying. He's now been convicted, and Black Lives Matter still defends the guy because it's a cult. They want power, and boy, I hope they never get it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.